Hey y'all. Hey y'all, it's me. It's your girl, the glow up is. I'm so excited to be here. I'm blessed to be able to see another opportunity. I know that I haven't been in this actual spot in a while. Um, and I was letting y'all know that, I have been going through some things, right, in these last couple of weeks. And so it's been crazy. I had kind of been dealing with some things, right? Personally, but right at the end of the day, all of these things work together for our good and for God's glory. And I'm always trying to push myself. I'm always trying to do all of the things that, God has purposed me to do, right? Because it's easy to talk about it, but are we really living it? Are we doing it, right? And so tonight, the reality is that I really wanted to talk about joy. But for those of you who are new here, right, this is a platform where we encourage each other. I'm always constantly encouraging myself and encouraging you as well, but encouraging me while I'm talking to y'all and sharing with y'all, right? Because that's what this thing is about. We grow to glow. That's what the glow up is, right? Even when it's not comfortable, even when our back is against the wall, even when it makes us feel like we're out of place, even when things just don't seem like it's going in the direction that we want it to go, right? We still grow when it's uncomfortable because God brings the comfort to the uncomfortable. But I truly believe, right, that there are people that are going to watch this podcast, that are going to hear it, that are going to be inspired, that are going to be motivated, and also to know that they are not by themselves. That is the whole purpose of the glow up is to have someone to acknowledge that you are not going in this thing called life, right? This journey called life by yourself, because we all need each other, because God said it was not fit for man to be alone. I don't care whether or not it's your spouse, whether or not if it's your friend, whether or not, I don't care what it is. Like, listen, we need each other. We just got to be here with each other, right? And so, what better could we do, right, than a podcast with just being open and honest with real issues, talking about things that we deal with on a regular basis, right? But in spite of all of that, right, we are literally touching the surface and digging a little bit deeper in the root of so many different things that we try to mask, right? Those things that we try to hide from other people, but we can't hide them from God, the internal. And a lot of times, right, we don't focus on the internal. We focus so much on the external. We focus so much on the things that's on the outside that we don't focus on the things that's on the inside. So that's what the glow up is about. We're focusing on the things that's inside. Like, let's talk about those things. Let's deal with those things, right? Because if we can deal with that, we can get to the next stage in our lives. We can get to the root of all of it, but we can become the best versions of ourselves, the one that God sees, right? Because God sees us exactly the way that He sees us, and He sees us perfect. And there is no condemnation in Him, and there is freedom in Him. All you have to do is say yes, right? And you don't have to go to a church. You don't have to be at a church. And I know that God eventually will call you to one, right? He may, right, call you to one, but that's where you begin to develop that personal relationship with Him, right? But you can receive God right in your bathroom, right in your closet, right in your room where you are watching this right now. All you got to do is say, God, I trust you. God, I want to accept you. I accept your son. I believe that He died for my sins. I trust it, and just believe and know, right? You've already said it out of your mouth, and you just believe in your heart and you are saved. It's that simple. So, man, let's dive into this thing. This week has been a very trying week, but at the same time, right, I am blessed to have made it this far. I am blessed, even in spite of everything that I have going on around me right now. Right now, y'all, my AC is still not fixed. They had jumped it for a while, so it was kind of working, and then it went out again. So they end up having to go and get a piece. Thankful that the house has a warranty on it, right? And that this is a brand new house, right? Because if it wasn't, then I would probably be banned and probably been had to buy a whole new thing. But I'm thankful for that, right? I'm always trying to look at and see the good in every single thing, right? Even to one of the technicians, they wanted some prayer. And I can tell, right, that they had a crazy day. And so if that's what it is, and that's what has to happen in order for me to witness, or in order for me to step outside of my comfort zone, right? And to be the one to do different things, whether or not if it's encouraging teammates, whether or not if it's, you know, being a blessing to a client or something, right? Whether or not if it's just me smiling, whatever it is, right? I just want to make sure that I'm doing it to God's glory and his satisfaction. So, with everything that I said today, man, listen, God wants us to have joy. Joy must be a lifestyle. That's what I'm talking about tonight. Joy is a lifestyle. Joy is a lifestyle. We talk about joy coming in the morning, and that comes from Psalms chapter 30, verse 5. And we're always talking about that. Joy comes in the morning, right? We have all of these things that we endure, but joy comes in the morning. We're always talking about the joy. And so joy is a lifestyle. It's deeper than happiness. Happiness is temporary, but joy is eternal. That means that it doesn't stop. It does not stop, even in spite of all of your circumstances, even when you want to get in the way. Joy is still literally sitting there waiting for you to open up the door and say, hey, I never left. I'm right here. I just stepped outside for a moment, but I'm here. And so that's the beautiful part. That's the blessing about all of it. And I'm really excited about what God is doing. I'm excited about what God is about to do, right? Even in all of the things that it is that he has for us to do. Joy is a lifestyle. So I cannot stress that enough. So I pray that each and every single one of you receive something, right, from this talk tonight, because this is what we do, right, at the Glow Up Is, baby. We grow to glow. Y'all, today, literally, it has literally been exactly 1 year from when I lost my cousin. Like the last time that I had talked to him was literally 2 days before all of the chaos, all of the stuff that happened, right? And today I had been kind of going through the motions. I had kind of been, going through a lot of different things and trying to, get my mind squared away, right? And so I worked today, and I literally told my manager, I was like, I don't know whether or not I'm going to be able to really go through this. And, especially even with the heat. And then my cycle came on too. And it was just like, I was just getting irritated with so many different things. But I was literally just concentrating, and all God could give me was literally the book of Psalms, chapter 30, verse 5. Like, joy comes in the morning. Like, joy comes in the morning. I don't need you to focus on the things, Toya, that you can't control. I don't need you to focus on your grief. I don't need you to focus on those things, right, that hurt you. I need you to focus on me. I need for you to focus on the lifestyle. I need you to focus on the purpose that I have for you. And sometimes, right, even in grief, we can get so complex with our emotions and our feelings, and they can begin to consume us and get the best of us because we've literally been feeding it all day, right? I literally have been thinking about him, but then my job, right, it literally distracts me. So I'm literally talking to people and I'm good. But it was around like 150 something. A client had said something to me, and it kind of triggered, right? And I just literally just bust out, and I was in tears. And I literally was like, oh my gosh, this was just, it was triggering, right? And so all I could think about was my cousin in that moment, and I was sad, right? Because I was like, man, I miss him. But it wasn't just for me that I was missing him. I was missing him for his kids. And I just knew the father that he was, right? The father that he could be as well, right? And all of those things, all of those thoughts just began to rush, and all of those feelings began to come in on me at one time. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. This is so overwhelming. And so I just literally told my manager, I have to go. I'm going to try it again tomorrow. And she was okay with it, right? And I was thankful for that, because I know that in the end, right, is that I had to do what was best for me in that moment, because it was no way that I was going to be able to continue to work the rest of the day. Like, I had until 5:30, but I was excited just to be able to push. And she even gave me some kudos, was like, look, listen, you made it this far. You know what I'm saying? I'm just glad that you even made it that far. And what did it for me is that even in the moments, right, that we feel like giving up, right? God always gives us somebody or something, right, to remind us that this is temporary, right? Your feelings, right, that you're in right now, the moment that you're in right now is going to pass in a few seconds. It's actually going to become the past. Your present moment right now is about to become the past, literally. So I don't need you to focus on that. I don't need you to get so wrapped up in that, right? And so I'm constantly just thinking about all of these things, but God had to remind me of who He is, right, to me. And I had to remember who He was. And not only did I have to remember who He was, I had to also remember what His words said, right? Because a lot of times, y'all, we can get so consumed again in grief, right? That we forget about the joy, that we forget about the peace, that we forget about all of these things, right? And I think that it's so crazy because sometimes even in grief, we try to blame people, right? And sometimes we don't even realize it. But what we're doing is we become so volatile, right? That what happens is that we begin to blame other people for things that we are necessarily accountable for, right? It's things that we could have done, should have done, but because we didn't do those things and because we should have done those things, right? Um, it just makes it even more harder, right, for things to actually get to where they got to get to because of the simple fact that we're so focused on those things that we want to obtain, or we just want to remind ourselves of how we were there for this person, or how things could have been, right? Maybe we feel guilty about some things that we could have done differently versus, the other person, right? Because in true grief, though, right? And I've learned to not take things as seriously, right? Because the crazy thing about it is that sometimes people have to have something physical, right? A person to take it out on, right? And I've learned again that grief is grief. And some of us, all of us, we all grieve differently, right? And sometimes people will look at me and just be like, well, dang, she's so strong. She's still going. And I am, but it's not my own strength that I'm leaning on. I'm leaning on God's strength. I'm leaning on God's spirit to guide me, to lead me, to keep me, right? And so I think sometimes in this life, we get so wrapped up, right? And we get so caught up in the things of the world that we lose focus, that we lose our way, that we miss out, right? Because what happens is that we miss opportunities to love even more and to come closer even more as a family. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think that that's something too, right? That we also have to be mindful of, right? Is that, just because our loved one has passed, like we must keep that legacy like going. And just because, things, maybe your relationship was different with the loved one than the other person's relationship with the loved one, but you can't knock that person's relationship with that person, right? And at the end of the day, too, right, we are all sinners saved by grace. There's no one that's better than anybody. But at the same time, let's be clear. God knows exactly what you've done, what you haven't done, right? And I think that sometimes it's a real thing that your guilty conscience sometimes can really get the best of you because maybe you went down the wrong road, or maybe you treated that person, differently. Maybe you thought you had more time to try to get it right. Maybe you were taken advantage of. Maybe they took advantage of you. I don't know, right? But at the same time, man, when I thought about my cousin today and I thought about all the different lives that he's touched, right, just with his smile, and I was like, you know what? Even though he was one of the hardest people that I know, right? One of the hardest people I know, but at the same time, he had the heart, man. He had such a big heart. And not only did he have a big heart, but his smile, and I keep replaying it over and over in my head, and I just see it just as clear as day. I mean, the most beautiful smile, so infectious, right? His laugh, infectious, his smile, infectious, just his whole demeanor. You just wanted to be around him just simply because he was just a clown. He was just a clown, okay? And he was just like my son. And I sit back and I think about all of the things that we've done, all of the things that we've shared with each other, secrets, all of these different things, right? And I know that he kept mine and I'm going to keep his. And I'm just thankful for those, because the thing about it is that's wild to me is that, sometimes when you go to a funeral, you see people up there, right? And they have all of these things to say. They have all of these great things to say. And you can tell that they never really had a relationship with this person, but they want their conscience, right, to be released. They want the guilt, right, to be released. They just want to be set free. And that's cool, whatever you got to do, whether or not it's you becoming delusional. And I think that's the whole thing too, right? And I think that sometimes even when something happens, especially when it's someone that's very close to you, I think that you really do have to seek therapy, because if you don't seek therapy and you don't seek wise counsel, what will happen is you will drive yourself down a whole rabbit hole. And next thing you know, you will find yourself like literally trying to cope with it, whether or not if it's a drug, whether or not if it's food, whether or not if it's lashing out, whether or not if it's just you drowning yourself in work, whether or not if it's, you going out and buying stuff, right? Getting in debt, maybe, try Jesus, right? Maybe you should try Jesus. Maybe we should just both just get in that word and just start focusing and ask God, what do you say about this, right? How can I get away from all of the pain? How can I get away from all of the grief? What can I do? Right. And I think that that's a real thing too, is like you being open and honest with yourself. Like, what, what could I have changed? Right. But at the same time, you can't dwell on it, because the reality is, it's like, it's not going to bring them back. Right. You can even literally lash out on people, right, that are here, that are supposed to be the ones that you care about or love. Because a lot of times, right, it's the people that you care about the most that get it the worst. The ones that you care about the most is the ones that you blame the most. It's crazy, but I've seen it happen because I've lived it myself. Like, I know what that's like, right? And at the end of the day, for me, it's like I've accepted that, I am who I am. And I've also accepted too, like, it's okay, right, to still love people. It's still okay to pray for people, because that's one thing I'm never going to stop doing. I'm never going to stop loving people. I'm never going to stop praying for people, right? Because the reality is that God knows. God knows. God saw it, right? You shouldn't be worried about me and what I think or what the world thinks or whatever story you're trying to portray to the world, right? It doesn't matter, because the truth of the matter is God knows. God knows every single thing, and there is nothing that nobody can do, right? When it's just you and God, you got to answer for the choices that you made while you were here on this earth. And it's easier said than done right now, because people just look at it like, well, I ain't dead yet, so I can still say what I got to say and mean what I got to say. But everything that you have said out of your mouth, you literally have to take account for. And I think that that's going to be the main thing, right? Is that sometimes, man, like, we literally got to be accountable for the things that we say, and God is going to hold us accountable. That's the reality, right? I've always seen myself as one of those people that like to hold people accountable, but I also don't mind being held accountable either. I don't mind being called out either, right? But the reality is, for me, though, approach me in such a way where it can be received, right? Because I try to do the same thing to anybody else. And my whole thing is, at the end of the day, I'll meet you exactly where you at. You see what I'm saying? I will meet you exactly where you at. You ever heard the saying, treat people the way you want to be treated? Because that's a real thing. Treat people the way you want to be treated, because you have to. Like, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Unless you ain't got no home training. But even to that, though, God will help you get to where you got to get to. And I know that, right? I'm always constantly just thinking about all of these things, man, because what I know is that joy comes in the morning. Even though I'm going through the things that I'm going through, God still says you have joy. God still says you have peace. God still says, listen, I got you. Even when the world turns that back up against you, right? Even though you're crying. And that's a real thing. Like, we've been made endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And that's a real thing. Like, we've been made endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And I just want us to take heed to that, right? Even though we may be going through all of the different things that we're going through right now, even though we may be even in our feelings right now, listen, joy is something for us to look forward to. You don't even have to look for it in the morning. It can come right now. You can have joy right now, in the moment where you're at right now. Even in the middle of the frustration, even in the middle of the storm, God will give you joy. God will give you peace. If you are ready to receive it, if you believe that you have joy, you will have joy. If you believe that you have peace, you will have peace, because it is what you think. It is all in your mind. What is it that you're receiving? Put down some of those things that you're seeing, right? Because a lot of times, man, we mirror the things that we see. We mirror the things that we hear. Like, what is it that I'm listening to? What am I watching on TV that I'm mimicking? What is it, right? If you really look at a kid and you really pay attention to, even to teenagers, right? They see things. And because they see things, this is what they do. This is how they respond. They respond to the different behaviors because of the simple fact that at the end of the day, what they want to do, right? What they want to do is they want to do whatever it is they may see somebody else do. It may be a celebrity that they like. It may be even their mom or their dad or whoever, right? It's somebody that they've seen do this or say this, and they just take it over, right? And it's just so funny to me because at the end of the day, those things are really real because we make choices based on our people that are around us. They influence our choices. They influence the things that it is that we want, right? And I know that people really like to think that, you know what? This was my idea. This was my thought. This was my organic thought. Like, when was the last time that you ever really sat there and said, man, this was my organic thought? This is really what I thought about this thing. This is really what I saw about me. This is really what the word says about me. Let me receive what God says about me. Let me stop receiving the things that this man tells me that I am, right? He calls me a nagger. He calls me the B word. Maybe he's calling you all outside of your name and all of these different things, right? But just because you in that moment, right, doesn't mean that's who you are. I'm not receiving all of these things that man tries to tell me. I'm still gonna have my joy. I'm still gonna have my joy. My joy is not for sale. My joy is my lifestyle. And even though I'm going through these different things right now, y'all, because I promise you, I'm talking to y'all. Like, when I'm talking to y'all, I'm talking to me because y'all, I'm going through some things right now emotionally. And I am literally okay with that, right? Because it's been up and down, up and down, up and down. But today it just kind of hit a little extra harder because, I know where I was exactly a year ago, which I was actually home, and me getting all the different news and seeing the news outlets and how they literally portrayed my cousin to be a monster. And it hurt me to my heart that somebody that was so close to me and how the media portrayed him to be. And it just hurt me. It just hurt me so bad. Um, and even now, when I sit back and I think about it, man, I just literally cry because at the end of the day, and this is the thing about the world, right? The world will literally chew you up and spit you back out because the world don't care about you. You do one thing and you start putting your business out there, and the world knows your business. It is literally going to really damage you and hurt you in the end of the day, right? Because they forget that you're a human being. They forget that you're somebody's son or daughter, right? Because at the end of the day, people can relate to that, but people forget all of that because it could easily be your kid, right? And if it was your kid, wouldn't you want somebody to have some type of compassion on your child? And those are the things that bother me sometimes because humanity can be very mean to each other. And it's like we've literally lost ourselves in this world. It's like we have literally lost our joy because we're looking for joy in all of the wrong places. We're looking for joy in all of the wrong places. Joy can only come from God. Joy can't come from people. Joy was not given to you by people, it was given to you by God. And you can only obtain it in the spirit. And if you obtain it in the spirit, then it can begin to control the flesh. Joy, 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 unspeakable joy. And when people talk about it being so unspeakable, that means that you become so speechless with this peace. You become so speechless, right? With this lifestyle because it feels amazing. And it's not just amazing to your flesh, but it's amazing because you feel it on something else and you're just like, can't even put my hands on it, right? It's inside of your skin. And you're just like, oh my gosh, this is so, I can't even explain it, right? You can't even use the words because maybe the words haven't even been invented yet. This is how good it is. This is how amazing it is, right? And so I don't know about y'all, man, but I want that joy. I want that peace. Let's get that joy. Let's get that peace because listen, God called us to do this thing. God has called us to do this. So be reminded on today, man, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Y'all, listen, I'm telling you, did you just hear what I just said? Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. So we got to live with our joy. We got to live with our joy. I don't know about you. What does joy look like? Joy looks like this. What does joy look like? And sometimes I have to ask myself that. I have to remind myself of what joy looks like, even when I'm not feeling it, right? Because joy is a lifestyle. I have joy every day. I get to choose to activate my joy every single day. Anyways, y'all, I'm going to get up off of here because I've been on here now for 25 minutes. I try to keep y'all for 25, 35 minutes of encouragement, but I love y'all. I'm so thankful to be back. I'm so thankful and grateful that, God saw fit to give us another day, another opportunity, right? Because every Friday, y'all, I'm here at 6:30, 6:45 on live. This is what we do, right? At the Glow Up is we grow to glow. And we're just gonna continue to grow. We just gonna continue to grow. We just gonna continue to allow God to allow his light to shine through me, to through us. And that's what we're gonna do, because we're gonna grow together. This is what we do at the Glow Up is we grow to glow. I love y'all. I'll see y'all next week. I love y'all so much. Thank y'all so much for supporting me. Share this if it blessed you, if it blessed somebody else. If you know somebody else who needs encouragement, even while grieving, right? They still want to experience joy. Guess what? Let them know that, listen, weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. All right, y'all. I love y'all. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.